Oh boy, we're going to talk about Canada today. So some people saw, I think I mentioned I'm in Canada on a previous video, and the comments rolled in. Canada allows handguns in classes? Question mark. I didn't think they allowed I thought Commie Canada banned handguns. It's like, oh yeah, they allowed, yeah. What's the process for bringing guns into Canada? Yeah, okay. So we can talk about the gun thing in Canada. Now, I'm going to paint with a pretty broad brush here, but most parts of the world that I've been to, or most countries I've been to, which is, it's a fair number. It's like, you can get a gun if you want to. Like Americans, I think I have a predominantly American audience. Americans have the perception that you like can't get guns other places. That's not really true. It's like, there's just a series of hoops that you have to jump through. And then you can typically get the gun and do the thing that you want to do. Probably like, I don't know. It's hard for me to weight different things as I think about which country is the most restrictive. But I would say like California is like, would not be like, that's not an unusual legal situation to get guns. Like what I mean, like in other countries, like there's a license process, maybe a roster, then like a bunch of restrictions. I'm not saying it's awesome, but it's gettable that you can, if you work at it and you really want it, you can get a gun and do the stuff you want to do. Canada, that's not so much the case, or at least it very, very, very much may soon not be the case at all. So are handguns banned in Canada? Like, no, not yet. So the situation now is just like they're kind of frozen in place. It's like, if you have a handgun, you can keep it, but they're not transferring anymore to anybody. So it's kind of like let's say you do competitive shooting, you're just like, oh, okay, this is going to, in a few years, this is going to kill this sport off. Obviously, you're not going to, I don't think you can give your gun to your kid. So it's like, obviously, in time, there will not be gun ownership with a policy like that. But for right now, you cannot transfer handguns. I think that's been the situation for almost 2 years in Canada. The government's saying they're going to ban them, I think, and they buy them back, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen because there's a lot of people that don't like that idea. For the rifles, they're very restricted as well in Canada. The AR platforms, I think for the last 4 years, if you had an AR rifle, it has to stay in your safe. Technically, it's like you were, I think, only allowed to take it to the range to shoot it and then put it back in your safe. But I think now technically it just has to stay in the safe. They're too dangerous to come out of the safe. So the AR platforms, they really don't like here. Interestingly, in talking to people here, IPSC is actually growing in Canada a little bit, and which with the things I just said, it's like, that sounds kind of nuts. Like, how is that possible? And apparently it's PCC is what's doing it. So handguns are a problem. AR platform is a problem, but there are some PCC things that like get around that, and people can buy new PCCs if they're a certain type and can use those. So apparently there's been a lot of newer people going to PCC. I guess that's all I really need to say about PCC. It's like, that's what you use if you legally can't get anything else, I guess. There's another control measure that's, I think, is important that kind of would slip under the radar for a lot of people. The ranges in Canada are like pretty heavily regulated. Obviously, it's like there's all these rules and shit that they have to follow. Different hours, different like range templates, like whether or not you have to use a shroud on steel, like all kinds of shit. They're very regulated. The problem is if you have a restricted firearm, so that'd be like handguns and ARs, those are only allowed to be shot at like a proper range. So if you have an unrestricted firearm, which would be like your hunting rifle, hunting shotgun type of thing that are not currently restricted, you just need a firearms license. I think in Canada you can buy one. I think those don't have to be shot at a proper range. If you're like a farmer or some shit, you can shoot a shotgun on your property. I think as long as it's there's meets whatever other requirements, but like that is okay. But for a restricted firearm, it has to go to a range, and that actually, I think that actually is a much bigger problem, because that gives like another, like that's a big control point of the ranges and access to the ranges, which in a lot of places is pretty difficult here. like I said, there's a lot of you can get a gun pretty much anywhere you want, but it's gotten to the point, like in Canada, it's like, whew, like this is untenable, the situation here. Like if you want to have guns and want to do shooting, this is not a great place for it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. And this is on top of all the other stuff. There's licensing to get guns, of course, and then there's shit. What else is there? 10-round limit on handguns. Or I think on any gun, like 10-round limit, that kind of. So there's a ton of restrictions on the guns themselves. But it's gotten to the point it's like, yeah, you can't even get one. So if you guys are curious about the situation in Canada for guns, it's not super awesome right now. It is really not. And I feel kind of bad for my Canadian friends. It's like, shit, like this sucks. Anyway, that's it.